Okay, we move right on to the Bureau of Administrative Adjudication. Still joined by Councilor Hogan, Councilor Nave, Councilor Paniagua, Councilor Jones-Rouser, and welcome, Leah.
Good afternoon. Leah Whitmer, Director and Chief Administrative Law Judge of the Municipal Violations Bureau, which for this hearing's purpose is the Bureau of Administrative Adjudication. I've got my new Deputy Directors, Ishrat Rui and Lee Terry, here as well. I wanted to introduce them to you. Obviously, it's been an exciting year. We added a lot of new positions last year, including both of the Deputy Director positions. So we over doubled our staff. We have between both departments, which I consider the Municipal Violations Bureau, we handle all types of adjudication for any types of tickets that the city issues. So the BAA, we're handling tickets issued by codes for non-compliant property code violations, health and sanitation violations issued by DPW, for things like illegal set-outs and the cart violations, and then later we'll talk about parking tickets issued by SPD. Between all of that, we have 18 full-time employees and 11 part-time employees. The part-time employees are all administrative law judges and hearing examiners that we pay an hourly rate to help us adjudicate all the cases. The part-time employee number has shrunk a little bit because myself, Lee, and Ishra all do hearings for both parking, BAA, and illegal set-outs as well to bring some of that in-house responsibility. So we've really had a huge expansion, lots of hiring this year. We still have 2 supervisor positions that are vacant because we're waiting for approval from the county on the creation of those positions before we can hire, but I'm working closely with personnel and have that ready to go as soon as we get approval. We also, like a lot of departments, have turnover in the support staff category. So right now we have 1 vacant information aide and 1 vacant clerk 2. And those are posted and we're actively recruiting and hiring for those. In addition to the expansive staff build out this year, we've renovated this space on the first floor of City Hall. So we just moved back into that space, which historically was the Parking Violations Bureau. We've made it more constituent friendly. You can walk in now and there's bay windows just like the City Payment Center. So you can go up and get served by one of our 3 information aides that cover that area. We've got a larger hearing room right off of that is going to have a screen like you have up here so that constituents can see the evidence that SPD has captured right on the screen. And then across from security is our other hearing room, which will also have a screen. So that's really great. And then we've got staff across the hall in what used to be the water finance space. So we've had a lot of really big, exciting changes. We've also been working to streamline processes this year. As you'll recall, in September of 2022, we took over illegal set-out adjudications. And that's been, a big lift. So that's all going very well. And, partners nicely with my update on technology. AIMS is our software that we use for parking tickets. First, Digital Services and IT did a huge lift and help us push that with EDC, the company that manages AIMS, up into the cloud. So it's much faster, more capacity, safer. So that was a big lift for the city. And then we also added a codes module that right now is being deployed by DPW. So, and purchased 13 handhelds for crew leaders and supervisors that have those out on the routes and are issuing the tickets for illegal set-outs. They look just like parking tickets. The content is obviously different and the tickets are adhesive. So all of that goes right into the software in real time, as well as pictures of the violations. So that's great, and that capability to contest those tickets is right online on SEER.gov. you can fill out your dispute form, on the website, just like you can with parking.
How are people being advised that they're getting a ticket?
They get the ticket, so just like
What
a
do they
parking
get?
ticket.
Like, is it in the mail? Do you have?
It's affixed to the violation or the property, and then a courtesy copy is mailed to them. So those are the legal requirements. Obviously, you only have 24 hours to clear, either pull it back or take care of it. So a lot of landlords don't get the courtesy copy in time. We've worked with the City Payment Center and our comms team, and there's a daily MailChimp email that you can opt into through rental registry. It's not a perfect system. Anytime someone gets a ticket, I always ask, are you a landlord? Do you want to get added? And we add them in real time. And then the software should eventually have the capability to, you get a ticket. If your email is in there, you own 10 properties, it'll go automatically. The software's been a really heavy lift that, again, digital services, IT, and other departments, API, have really done a lot of work this year to get that up and running.
So if somebody would say that they didn't receive it, you give them a leniency of time to make it work, or no?
No, because the environmental services crew picks it up, right? You get ticketed, you've got 24 hours, the crew goes around, picks it up. The legal requirement is it's affixed to the property. Obviously, if it's a landlord and they didn't get notice, it would be their responsibility to take that up with their tenant.
And the neighborhood doesn't want it hanging around more than 24 hours
Yeah.
either,
So, the legal requirements is, we're following all of those. Again, it's not a perfect system. We get a lot of people that don't have it because they're landlords, or, most people, if it's owner occupied, they're seeing it when they get home to and from work. And the daily email has helped with a lot of landlords. So we're working, on bettering the process every step of the way. Our hope is, with the addition of this codes module that we're using for illegal setouts, that we can push BAA tickets into it as well. Right now, it's an entirely manual ticket process. Codes issues, a paper ticket to us that we serve that goes to the property owner. So our hope is that we can do that ticket process through there. Again, it'll streamline, make it easier, and give us more capability if everything, is in that software. Yeah, those are my updates for you. Obviously, you can see an overview on the page that has Bureau of Administrative Adjudication at the top. You can see the growth of tickets being issued by the Department of Code Enforcement. That just includes codes tickets going up every year. As far as the DPW tickets, I put that on the bottom left, that you can see there's been a little over 5,000 health and sanitation violation tickets this year, and just around 6% of those have been contested. I know that there were concerns, through that rollout, and Council revamped the penalties several times, but it's really a small percentage of people who are receiving tickets and that are opting into their right to have a hearing on those tickets. Yeah.
So of these hearings,
Sorry?
Yes.
Yes.
When they protest, how many are thrown out? In other words, you say, well,
Dismissed?
dispense, just say dispense.
Yeah. Hang on, I've got a breakdown.
And while you look at that,
Yeah.
in conjunction with that, how many were fined to the wrong property per se? So say if it was the trash one and the trash looked like it was on someone's property, but it was a neighbor next door actually.
Sure. So if you look at page 132 of your book, it kind of gives an overview of the number of tickets issued, fines assessed, defaults issue. A default is when somebody fails to enter a plea. So you receive a ticket, either the code ticket or the DPW ticket, you have 30 days to either pay or request a hearing. For purposes of the codes tickets, if you don't pay, a penalty is added on and we issue a default decision and order. And then there is a collection mechanism, which we're having struggles with, which Counselor Hogan brought up in the earlier budget hearing, which I'll circle back to later. And then for illegal setouts, if you don't pay, the penalty gets rolled onto the taxes every May. Okay?
All right.
And then if you look down at the adjudication of tickets in the middle of that page, that gives you an overview of the number of cases that a hearing was requested, the plea, and then your specific number. Let me just. I don't want to waste your time, but I can get back to you on it. I've got just a lot of numbers, like, for number of tickets dismissed, but it's broken. Oh, here we go.
Probably my question.
Like, for first ticket hearings, meaning it was a first ticket issued, 87 were dismissed, 138 were sustained, 68 defaulted, meaning they requested a hearing and didn't show up. 45 were reduced, meaning the administrative law judge upheld the violation but reduced the fine or penalty. 44 were conditionally waived, meaning the administrative law judge said, you have 30 days to correct the violation and close it out with codes, and then we'll waive the penalties. If you fail to do either of those things, then this amount will be incurred. Let's see. Yeah, that's a pretty good overview of the numbers.
Well,
So,
people have to know, you gotta, and I've said this to many residents, you gotta call back. You just can't sit on it. You have to call.
you have to call, or
Right, you
again,
have
go
to.
online, email us. We accept walk-ins, over the phone, email, through the website to contest your tickets.
A lot of elderly people are not aware of it, even new Americans.
Yes. Well, you're
don't
getting
understand.
lots of copies in the mail, right? Our tickets are all served certified mail, so you have to sign for it.
Right.
If you don't sign for it, we're not moving forward with a default judgment. We'll follow up with codes to see what information they have about the property. But somebody at the property is signing for it if you're getting a ticket, and then before we issue that default, that the penalty is incurred.
Will we be able to have a copy of that? Will we be able to get a copy of that?
I can give it to you. This was actually, I'm working with MBD on an evaluation for a Bloomberg grant, and they helped me compile this, but if I gave this to you, it'd probably be hard to understand, but I'll get you a more comprehensive version of that.
So what percent would you think, I mean, if you have that number,
Yeah.
you'd say that are people that actually get a ticket and comply with payment?
Oh, that pay the ticket?
Yeah. Without
Usually
any-
about 50% of them default, 15 to 20% pay, 15 to 20% request a hearing, and then the rest, maybe they request it late, right? You can request a hearing on the codes tickets at any point in time, but there's different thresholds before 30 days, after 30 days, within a year, after a year. The legal standards change. Counselor, you had, I don't recall your question.
It was more on the basis that, like, I'm just speaking more to the trash portion of it.
Oh, the property. So when we implemented the code enforcement module, it took some time to link it to the real property tax base so that we have the correct addresses in there. But Mr. Terry's team, right now, they go through every single violation and invoice. So for an illegal set out, you get the ticket on the property, and then you get a copy in the mail, okay? And then if you don't comply, you get fined, so you get an invoice. They go through every single notice 1 and notice 2 that I just explained and cross-check the addresses, looking at the pictures, looking at the parcels. And I'm happy to report that we're almost to the point where we don't have to do that anymore. Again, API, digital services, IT, working hard to, fix any bugs. We're one of the first municipalities in the country that's rolled out the codes module of Ames. Obviously, a ton of municipalities use it for parking, but we're one of the first, because we paired it with the rollout of carts. So we're getting there. If people dispute, they have the option to dispute, or if they call and escalate it, again, that's the great thing about deputy directors. You can, any of us can look at it and have the ability to void it out. I know I've talked to Counselor Monto about a couple. Same thing with parking tickets. There are errors that happen. There's odd parcels, there's corner parcels, parcels with multiple numbers. So there are some things that no, amount of technology is going to be able to capture those nuances.
Yeah.
But, if somebody reaches out to us, either counselor, property owner, any of us can review it and take a look. And then if it's questionable, we just have people go through the adjudication process.
Yeah, I asked because there was a property on James Street that was utilizing Teal Ave for their trash set-outs, which I'm thinking that might have been new because it's new owners. And the person next door was getting ticketed for them because I don't think they've been setting trash on that side of that corner
And
lot.
some of that, also is, reach out to DPW. Where am I supposed to put my trash out? The other just point of clarification I'll mention, if somebody is illegally dumping on your property and you get cited, that's something you're still responsible for. It's your property.
Yeah, no, it's not illegal
yeah.
dumping. It was like they were weekly trash set-outs, but they were bringing it to the rear of the property.
Yeah.
And so the next door neighbor was getting fined for it.
Okay, yeah. And also just to highlight the illegal set-outs again, I know carts was a big concern. Out of the little over 5,000 tickets that have been issued, only 1,600 have been carts. 3,400 are just the illegal set-outs, the health and sanitation violations that we've always had. In the middle there, you can see the revenue generated. It still hasn't crept up the way that I had hoped. And that largely goes to your point earlier, Counselor Hogan, during the code enforcement budget hearing, that we still don't have a solid collection mechanism. As Joe Barry mentioned, we've been working really closely with the state. Mr. Terry has taken point on that and is in constant contact with Magnarelli's office, trying to find a resolution. Unfortunately, we're not there yet. And we do have the ability to file judgments and liens like you were asking. It's not something that we've pursued because of the cost and capacity, right? It's hard to, focus on one path, come up with a, solution on another path, roll out illegal set-outs. Even with a bigger staff, that's bigger everything.
Yeah, I'm not sure that would be the deterrent we would need. We need a more solid deterrent, and I think something like rolling it over obviously would be the best.
Yeah, we're pretty confident at this point that we are exploring local authority to be able to do it. So if we're not able to work out some kind of amendment on the state legislation, we are exploring what other local options we have.
Mr. Terry's been dealing with Mr. Assemblyman Magnarelli's office?
Yep.
God bless you, Mr. Terry.
Yeah, ongoing. I mean, really, and we've provided them with everything we possibly can. But like I said, if we're not able to move the needle on the state level, we're hoping to bring something on the local level before you.
This is an example of something, you've put together, we go back years as far as this goes, and you put together a great organization that addresses issues that really affect the quality of life in the neighborhood. And we just need this one little thing, and it'd be nice if our state legislators would just get on board and help us with this thing, obviously. Because the more effective we make you, obviously, the more it'll really reflect in the quality of life in the neighborhoods, I think. So I appreciate what you're trying to do.
I'll ask the same as far as the last meeting. What are the payments to other governments? What does that look like for you guys?
The payments to other governments line in the budget is for filing of judgments. So that's why you see this year projected as 0, because we haven't filed any. But I did convince Julie over there, my budget analyst, shout out Julie, to keep it in there, because to Counselor Hogan's point, even though it's not the ideal method, at some point, if we can't move state or locally, we need a method, right? The defaults are considered internal judgments within our bureau, but we want to take that next step. So that's what that line item is for.
You know, I mean, we had nothing before this,
Yeah.
BAA. We had 0 until actually former Counselor Nicoletti came up with this, you know, I mean, this whole legislation thing. So, I mean, this is, you can imagine what would happen if we didn't have any kind of bureau like this.
Yep. Are there any other questions?
Good.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks. We have parking tickets at 3.
Yeah, not till 3.
Motion to adjourn this piece.
Motion.
Second. Thank you. See you at 3.
See you at 3.